I've built dozens of enclosures in Jurassic World Evolution 3, and somehow I've never tried this. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're back in Jurassic World Evolution 3, building out an enclosure for Baryonyx. Now, I'd put an ask out there if there were any dinosaurs that would be fun to create an enclosure for, and the feedback I got was to do something with Baryonyx, so that's exactly what we're going to do today. The one thing that's different from what I've done in the past is I'm not going to use a viewing gallery or not using anything. I'm going to use the hotel base to start off this enclosure here. I'd never done this before, but the hotels do have a viewing, they can show you how many dinosaurs are visible from it, and so I wanted to use this as the start of this and make something where maybe there's some shops that we can go into, in theory, on the sides of this, but the back of it is going to be more for guests to walk through into some kind of a platform to look into that Baryonyx enclosure. I've never done this before, but after this came together, I really enjoyed how it looked, and I think I might use the hotel base for a lot more enclosures where we want to have some kind of a guest building adjacent to the enclosure without having that traditional viewing gallery we've used in Jurassic World Evolution 1, Evolution 2, and then now maybe more limited in Evolution 3. I do want to use that traditional roof where it's just a normal, there's nothing fancy about the top of it for the front of this enclosure here. But the back of it, I'm going to change up and use the glass to give some more natural light into that space there. I am still speeding this up because I am a slower builder at these things, but I did have a lot of fun doing it. So if there are other dinosaurs that would be fun to get some ideas from, I would love to see those suggestions, and I can try to do something else in the future. Or if there's different strategies to create different types of buildings or different kinds of enclosures, I'd love to see those as well. I think it's always really fun to see what different people can create in a game like this. I know there's a lot of people out there that do more things with like Planet Zoo to create these crazy buildings here. So getting more and more familiar with this, I feel like I'm becoming more adept at using the modular building here, and it's becoming more comfortable the more and more that we do things like this. I did take a little bit of inspiration from a reptile house that I did see online, and so use that as a start to the front of this with these wood beams that may cross over each other here. I did have a couple problems when I was working on this here, getting one of these posts to not quite turn, so I had to pull it from the other side here. I don't know what's going on there, so if anybody knows why they might have that problem, because see how that one on the left, I can't ever really move it from there. I don't know what's going on. If someone knows what has the problem with those, I would love to know, because I've run into this like 7, 8, 9 times at this point here. We're not going to be able to actually look in or walk into these shops here, as it's just, there's nothing behind it. But what I did instead was we're just going to take these windows here and put different kinds of buildings. So we'll have one that's more operations, one that's more for a shop on the side there that we can look into, but we know there's actually nothing in there. Again, this is all just the original hotel base, and then building something around that here for people to still go into. I think that one of the things that I always miss or I forget to do on a lot of these builds here is to put some kind of a trim around the side of these. And a lot of times I can just use those planter boxes to go around it, and then we can put some foliage in there as well to really help this come together. I think the more that I've done this, I don't love having the bottom of these buildings completely empty, so having something there is really helpful. I'm still getting better about using different kinds of trim and creating things to make it look a little more realistic. I still think there's things from this that I could have done to make that better, but in the time that it took me to make this, I'm not mad with how it all turned out, especially the front there, and then starting to work on the back here, which is more for the guests to walk through and then go over to be able to look at our dinosaurs. The middle of this, I wanted to create some kind of a statue display with a couple dinosaurs, mostly Baryonyx, so that when we walk in we can see a few of them in a statue, and then walk out to see the real Baryonyx in here. We'll put a couple of these in here. I think that I just had completed the challenge for this, so that made this a little bit easier to add those. Before I was worried about creating the skeleton, and I did not feel comfortable or confident in my ability to make that. So having that here was a little extra nice touch, with some foliage here as well to make this feel a little bit more busy without just putting plants in here for the sake of making plants. I am not good at foliage, though, in the sense of knowing which plants should go in which spaces. I just look at what I feel like looks okay, and I just roll with that here. We don't want the walls to be completely bare, so we'll use some of these fossil panels here around it to add a little bit more to the sides here without going too crazy. And then I don't really use the bamboo sticks, but I felt like they worked okay here against the natural wood that we have in here. So this is probably the only place I've ever used that bamboo. And then, like we said before, we're going to take this glass and just give this some more natural light on the inside of this space over here. Once we do that, we just got to wrap up the side of this building here and get some wood on this here. Originally, I thought to fill it all in, but as I was going, I thought it might be nice to have an extra window at the top that we can have for some more light. And then we'll create a panel on the side here as a glass wall that I guess will walk around as they go out to actually see the Baryonyx outside here. We're going to create a deck out here, and we're going to use the wetlands wood platforms to do that. I think that the wetlands have the best wood docks and walls and things for a lot of this to make it feel a little bit more weathered and realistic. So getting to use that, and I use that a ton whenever I'm making docks or decks or bridges. I think that this is a really great underappreciated prop for us to use, especially because it already has these here to create that bottom of the deck. I'm going to create a spot here for the rangers and medical teams and everyone to come into. Even though I did this in sandbox mode, I still want it to be something that can fully function. And I want to have a covered entrance here with the gates that go around all sides of it. I didn't want to have this where it was just open on the top for us here. And I'll do some more with that as we get a little bit closer. It's very simple, but I do like, and I feel like I do it more and more often now, where we do cover the top of a lot of our entrances now for our maintenance teams to walk through. Got to start playing with the actual environment now for Baryonyx. And whenever we do waterfalls, you always want to make sure we check this because the terrain under the waterfalls can be questionable, can use a little bit of extra love. And so we'll make sure we add to that. And then we'll open up the side of this here for another deck that we're going to create. That deck is going to be more for our staff to be able to use. I want this to be one where they can walk over if they need to engage or observe anything with Baryonyx, maybe from a safer distance. We can do that up here. But I don't want this to be something that's necessarily open for the guests to be able to use. So this is going to be away from any of the paths that we'll be able to add in here, but still an opportunity somewhere. If we were just walking around the park, you could stumble on this. You can see it from the other building, but it's not something that we really need our guests to be involved with. So we're not going to have a ton of the fun decorations here. We're going to have some stuff here to feed Baryonyx. We'll have a ton of fish. We'll have some barrels. We'll have some crates over here. We're also going to put a few, and by a few I mean probably like 9, 10, 12 different picnic tables over here. We're just going to weather them a little bit so they feel like they match that vibe, and then we'll just copy paste, move a couple of them over here. Again, I'm not too worried about these being filled with guests because it's so far off of the path. I don't really think that they're going to come over here. Since I want to have this as a spot where the Baryonyx is being able to eat here, we are going to put some more decorations and some things around a feeder right next to that, even though I know they're not really going to use it. I would like to see it if I could have an option for them to actively use this feeder a little bit more, but since they do have the deep water, they end up using that more than anything. Now we're just putting a couple of last minute touches on this building here. Didn't go too crazy with it, but I did think that a couple of these spots were just bugging me to fix and work through. I think even looking back, there are some things I could add to this to make it feel a little bit stronger, but overall, for a building like this, I'm not mad at how it turned out. Put some more seating in here. Again, this is where we want most of our guests. This is, in this little park that I made, this is the only spot that we have of a dinosaur right now. Maybe we'll add some others in the future if we have any suggestions or if anyone has an idea for another dinosaur to add to this. So if you do have any thoughts on other dinosaurs to add to a park like this, feel free to put those in the comments. If you did enjoy this video, definitely hit that like or that subscribe button. We have just a couple shots of what this looks like now with the dinosaurs, the Baryonyx fully included in it. So enjoy that. Enjoy that for the next minute or two here. And I will see you on the next build.